And we have breaking news on an alleged plot by an ISIS operative here in the U.S. to assassinate former President George W. Bush. It's part of an ongoing and long-running investigation. There is no threat to the former president, I understand. Joining me now, NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams and Frank Figliuzzi, former FBI Assistant Director and MSNBC National Security Analyst. Pete, Forbes first reported on this. What do we know?
Well, Andrea, it's quite clear now from reading the court documents in this case that there never really was any threat to the president. This is certainly a person who wanted to try to do harm to the president, but never had the capability to do anything. And it's quite clear that the FBI initially got interested in him because he was trying to smuggle people into the U.S. for money. There's no suggestion when the FBI began to pay attention to him that he was trying to smuggle terrorists in here. He just wanted to smuggle in people who were not otherwise legally able to enter the country from Iraq to make money. His name is Shihab Ahmed Shihab, and according to court documents, he is from Iraq. He entered the U.S. in September 20, and there's some indication that he himself committed visa fraud when he entered the country. But that's when the FBI began to have two undercover operatives talk to him, constantly record conversations with him when he discussed his idea about bringing people in here to make money. And then, as the conversations went along, at one point he begins to talk about his connections to ISIS. He says that he drove trucks and vehicles around Iraq that had explosives in them that were used to attack Americans. Whether that's true or not, there's no suggestion in the court documents. That's his claim. And then as the months went by, he said he wanted to bring in 4 or 5 or maybe 6 Iraqis who would be willing to join him in a plot to assassinate the former president. At one point in February of last year, one of the undercover operatives picked up a Shihab down at the airport, and they went and actually drove past the Bush compound. And according to court documents, Shihab made a video of that with his cell phone. But the court documents say Shihab never actually sent the video anywhere because he was afraid that it would be intercepted by law enforcement. And that's pretty much it, Andrea. So there's no suggestion that any of the people he wanted to get here to do this were ever smuggled into the U.S. No suggestion that he had any firearms or capability to do this on his own. It's just an idea that he had in his head, but he never did any much with it. Nonetheless, he has been arrested. He is in custody. He'll be appearing in court this afternoon where he lives in Columbus, Ohio, and he'll face these charges, Andrea.
And thanks to you, Pete, Frank Figliuzzi, of course, the former president has, full Secret Service protection at all times, and the FBI was all over this, right?
They were, but there's some notable takeaways here, Andrea. First, we clearly have not seen the last of ISIS or ISIS-related bad actors out there. In fact, some of the names this guy was throwing around, if he indeed had affiliation with them, are known players in the Ba'ath Party or known former associates of Saddam Hussein. So they're out there. Secondly, there is a connection to the border here in the sense that he was planning, at least, to get people through the border with Mexico to do bad things here. There's even some reporting here that he may have, or at least bragged about, possibly having smuggled somebody from Hezbollah in through the border. And then lastly, there's clearly use of encrypted messaging here, social media encryption, specifically WhatsApp, and it shows both the challenges and the successes of federal law enforcement in overcoming the threat. So they're using an encrypted app repeatedly, but the FBI gets around it, thankfully, by inserting informants into this once they get word of this plot. But my point is, what if they hadn't gotten around the encryption? What if this was still continuing and surveillance turned into actual planning, plotting, acquisition of material, and the FBI could not get around the encryption? So it's a constant battle against technology. Indeed.
And Pete, in the hearing today, is it likely that they will try to hold this man?
Oh, absolutely
right.
Right.
Exactly what that hearing is going to be.
Yes, he'll have an initial appearance. This is I think it'll be a criminal complaint, not an indictment. So he won't be making any plea today. But you can bet that the government will seek to have him held as a danger.
Thanks so much to Pete and, of course, to Frank Figliuzzi, to both of you for that breaking news.